I have with me Makuru Mampuru, Head of Department for Economic Development in Gauteng, Fulu Sintumule, Director of the Consortium for Refugees and Migrants of South Africa, COMSA, and Abdi Rizak Ali Osman, the Secretary General of the Somali Community Board of South Africa. Mr. Mampuru, let me start off with you. Is this a case of xenophobia, and if so, why aren't we calling it that?
It is an economic case, Jane. The face of poverty is black African. It's wherever you happen to see it, internationally, nationally, on the continent. So that is what is at stake here, is economic resources and contestation over them.
And what do you think? Do you agree with that? Is it all about the economy? Is it fear of nationals? Or a bit of both?
It's a bit of both, but mostly sidelining the issue of the xenophobia. Because this thing doesn't start now. If you remember, back in 2008, we have experienced the similar situation. In 2015, we have experienced the similar situation where the foreign-owned shops are targeted in terms of the looting and the attacks, in terms of the xenophobic attacks. Because when you look at these economic issues and economic competition that Mr. Makoko is referring to, it has nothing to do with the nationality of a person. Regardless of a person, whether a person is from Pakistan, is from Somalia, is from Mozambique, is from Lesotho, it has nothing to do with the economic competition. The thing is, why always is the people who are from the other countries who are suffering or bearing this contestation of the resources? Why is not among South Africans themselves? So then the question
because it was only foreigners attacked.
Yes, it's only foreigners who are getting attacked every time when there is these issues that the government normally shy away to say, to call it straightly, to say this is a xenophobic attacks with the element of economic contestation. Then we can talk to the same language. But if it only talks about issues of economic, then we won't be talking the very same language, because down on the ground, I can tell you, I live in Soweto, I live in Deep Kloof. When these things were happening, the utterances that the people were saying yesterday down on the ground, I went there just to monitor and drive around. The utterances was that we don't want these people, if you quote it on the inverted commas, these people, who are these people they are referring to? Of course, they were talking about the non-national, that we normally call them foreigners. So it tells you that down on the ground, the people are not welcoming, especially the South African side. So which there is a lack of some sort of education in terms of who are the people who are in South Africa, because I think if that element is brought into discussion, even on the government agenda, to say who are the people in South Africa, then we can start talking about issues of social cohesion. We can start talking about issues of social integration, because I think there is a very serious gap between the actual ordinary South African citizen and the leadership. Because
okay, let's get to solutions a little later on.
Yes.
What do you think, Mr. Osman? Is this a clear-cut case of xenophobia, and why the fear to call it that?
No, I think, as he said, actually, Furu, it's kind of a both. Because normally, at the end of the day, the issue when it's rising, it's an issue actually in the public complaining about a lack of resources and poverty line in the townships, which at the end of the day actually results in a hatred and lootings of foreign nationals. So whatever it starts from, actually it ends up a hatred against foreign nationals, which resulted what happened yesterday in Soweto. The issue was started actually because of fake products have been sold by foreign nationals in their shops, and at the end of the day, we haven't actually waited. How can we resolve this challenge rather than going straight to the shops of foreign nationals and start looting and chasing them away?
So how big a problem is this fake product? Are these fake products? What exactly are we seeing?
Actually, we haven't seen this. Remember, the whole issue of this fake product started from a video circulated in the social media,
which hasn't been verified
which has
either.
Nobody, even from the South African authority, from provincial, local, or even national level, no one from the relative authority has verified it as it exists. And now it became a concern of the society that nobody even stand in front of them and say that, okay, fine, if this exists within particular environment, we are going to verify that, and we are going to deal with those people that are found doing in such challenges. But at the end of the day, it ended up actually chasing and saying even that. It's even clear. The messages also that have been running around in social media said that they said, foreigners, we don't want them in the townships. So they need to be chased away. Even the land.
Hold on, can I just put this to you? I mean, if you only describe it as an economic problem, aren't you shying away from the reality on the ground that there is a lack of cohesion, a lack of understanding, possibly between South Africans and foreigners? And once you can start tackle that, then you can address the other issues.
That may well be the case, Jane, but the point at the end of the day is, even with respect to this very economic contestation we are talking about, it is human nature to want to put a human face to any situation that you abhor. So in this particular case, the communities are confronted with a fairly successful foreign national cohort of business people that seem to be doing well. So it may be that they identify, then they relate to that as the kind of competition that they have problems with. So the point I'm making is primarily it is economic. That is why you do not have similar looting, similar attacks in other settings, because that contestation may be muted in those settings.
Look, I mean, you probably won't find it as frequently in a well-to-do suburb, for example.
Exactly. That's the point we get into. So, and because of that very nature, that here we're having a situation of people that are relatively deprived of basic necessities, and they have next to them, even in their own homes, people they have rented out their spaza shops to, who are doing well, who by some accident of history appear to be different to them. Then it's easier to identify them as such.
And it's frightening, isn't it? Sorry, how quickly the role of social, or what sort of role social media plays, how the speed at which negative images can be projected.
Yes, you know, this thing when it started, not now, when this social media has been doing rounds to say that on these days, on this particular date, there will be so and so. And when you go through that social media, it was purely the hatred of another person by another person, especially the person from another country, which tells you that the issue of economic then becomes the secondary scapegoat, if I may put it that way, to say we will hide behind the issue of economic competition or economic resources. But at the end of the day, when you look at the lines, it's purely stated that no, on these days we will be looting the shop that are owned by the foreigners, which tells you that why they are not looting the local shops. Because if I tell you, in townships we do have malls with big shops, and we do have big shops in township. They were not looted.
Can we leave it there? Only because we've got a call on the line. Andre from Pretoria, go ahead.
Jane, how are you?
Good, thank you.
I'm good. Let me just compliment you. Welcome back, and I want your entire staff, I want to compliment for what you're doing. Let me just ask you, we've had this exercise of this attacks, xenophobia, over and over and over, and we're sitting here again. When are we going to draw a line in the sand and we say, enough is enough? I'm working in government, and I'm in the defense force. But when are we going to draw a line and say, enough is enough? If your panel can just do that for me, because we are going to do this again. We always have this board of inquiries, we have this in. When are we going to draw a line in the sand and say, this is now enough? We've lost people now. Those things that we talk about expired, but still they're looting it and they're eating it.
Thanks very much, Andre. Okay, I mean, yes, when is it time to sort of grow up and really deal with this issue?
I think the most important thing we need to focus is more on solutions even. This is happening for the last, from 2008 up to now.
Have we learned anything?
We have learned a lot, and we have been trying even to approach from the relevant authorities, including economic development. We need actually to come up with strategies that we need to educate, first of all, our local South Africans, to say that, okay, foreigners are here actually to look for a life. They are not here to rob a business or anyone else. They run away from prosecutions, which majority of South Africans previously did. They need to understand the reason that they're here. They need to understand what they are doing especially. We need also, on the other side, on the other hand, local, foreign nationals, to share their actually business or entrepreneurial skills with locals, so that they can be accommodated in this particular environment. So we need to come up with solutions from civil society, organizations that represent foreign nationals, economic development from the provincial actually level. Let me also say Department of of Business Development. They need also to come up with solutions so that we can resolve, even if we said and put it this way, that this is an economic side, we need to come up with a solution to resolve that.
Okay, can we bring in Kennedy from Hotspot? Go ahead, Kennedy.
All right. My question goes to the guy from Gauteng. Hello?
Mr. Mampuru?
Yes, my question goes to the HOD from Gauteng. The first caller actually asked the question to say, why are the Soweto residents looting fake products? If they allude that they are selling fake products, are they looting it to eat it or to throw it away? Where did they throw it away if they did throw it away?
Yeah, why would you loot
to
fake
the guy
products?
from Somalia, let us not allude this to economic problems, because these things do not happen in other African countries where they have more harsher conditions than in South Africa. They don't loot people's things. It only happens here in South Africa. It's going to happen today, it will happen tomorrow, it will happen till I don't know when it will end. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Kennedy.
I think, Jane, we should say that enough is enough. We should state the position of government which abhors the violence that we have witnessed in the past few days, which has resulted in the loss of life. We don't know where they are taking the looted goods to, but it's obvious. The goods are going to be consumed by the people that are taking them. So the reasons for taking them may not be the reasons that appear out there. But two things that should be made clear. One, violence has never solved anything. But secondly, if it is true that there are issues of quality in the kinds of goods that are sold, in the shops that are run by foreign nationals, those governments should be able to resolve those kinds of issues.
Yes, and do you think, I mean, if you heard about this happening again in a middle-class suburb, I mean, would they not have come in a lot quicker to try and stamp it out? Is that also a problem? It's just, it's happening there, we don't have to do anything about it.
The issue may just be that the extent to which it is widespread. I mean, we have in excess of 150 townships in Gauteng. So when you just get a social media video saying all those kinds of things, where do you go first? But ultimately, government is committed to resolving this. This is why some of our leaders are on the ground already, seeking to resolve this. We are out there as the Department of Economic Development, but I should also make the point about us having decided since 2014 to reaffirm township economic revitalization. We are very active in townships, and it's going to stay that way. So we appeal to our people not to take the law into their own hands. We are going to help them to ensure that economically they're empowered.
I think it's easy to say that, but if you look at the role that police play in some of the repression against foreigners, you can understand possibly why the police are kept out of the picture. I mean, what sort of role do the police play at the moment? Can they be more proactive in stopping what's going on?
Yes, you are definitely right. Actually, the police should be the first port of entry when it comes to the security, because it's not about looting. There is lives of people here that are getting lost through this hatred of another people by different groups. So what needs to be done? There is a gap in terms of the education, like I alluded to before when I started to say. There is a very serious lack of education on the ground to say, in our communities, we have got this kind of people and the reasons why they are here. And then we can start classifying to say, these are the economic migrants, these are the refugees and asylum seekers, and these are the... Like yesterday, the question you asked, like yesterday, when the looting were happening, there were police officials there. The things that happened in White Seat, the foreign shop owners was getting beaten in front of a policeman. He was there, and there was nothing that was being done.
That's a real signal that you can do what you want.
In front of a policeman, can you imagine? That's why we are saying we need the serious political intervention, especially from the leadership, from the deputy, from the Minister of Police, to the Ministry to the Premier of Gauteng, to the Ministry of many. International Relations, Minister of Home Affairs, because I mean, we think Department of Home Affairs also has a role to play in this whole issue, because they are the first custodians of all the migrants who are in the country. And in terms of the integration, they also have to play a role. So if they're not playing that role, then we'll have these divisions among the communities, and then we won't find the solution. And
okay, I think that's a very good point. I mean, Home Affairs, you hear how difficult they make it for foreigners to work. You've got police doing what they're discussing, and many of these foreigners are setting up illegal shops. They have to work in the black market, don't they, under the radar? Because that's the only opportunities open to them.
Actually, yeah, it's true. But remember the entire environment that informal settlement, informal businesses are currently operating is in that pace. It's not actually regulated normally, properly. Bylaws are not followed the way it was should be. Because somebody coming to a yard, even the owner of the house doesn't even want to say that, okay, fine, do you want to build a shop here? Yeah. Go to the municipality and get your proper documentation so that you can operate as a business person. So the entire actually system are based on informality, which need is actually, as he said, the government interventions, starting from educating the landlords to tell them, okay, when any foreigner comes up actually in an attempt to open a shop, you need to send them to the right direction so that he can follow the right procedures. And at the end of the day, there will be no problem. Even when it comes to this issue of the fake goods who are sold in the shops, where are the health inspectors who are currently doing this particular, was supposed to do this? Yes. Before even this, the people take the law into their hands, what are they doing? They were supposed to go out there, verify that. And those people who are found actually doing that, they were supposed to be taken.
May I stop you for a minute? Ronald, go ahead, from Nelspruit.
Hello, thank you for the opportunity.
Go ahead, Ronald, thanks.
Yes, in my own view, I also feel like the rhetoric that is being used to say foreign-owned businesses, already it creates division. The way people are viewed, it already creates something that's saying now you have to deal with a certain person. I would believe that it would be best if people are just classified as small business people or big businesses. I believe there are also even big businesses that are being foreign-owned but are not targeted the way these ones are targeted.
All right. Thanks for that, Ronald. Okay, so immediately you putting somebody, you are labeling them, aren't you, if you call it a foreign business. Do you think that's partially to blame here?
I wouldn't think so. I mean, South Africa has opened up its boundaries. People from different countries, especially in Africa, are welcome here as long as they comply with the legal framework of the country. We are a constitutional democracy. We welcome refugees. We follow particular quality standards in terms of the kinds of goods that are sold in our communities. So if all of those things are taken care of, there's no need for us to be too hung up, too worried about everything else.
Okay, but why is it not being taken care of? You know, everyone's saying it's got to stop. You're saying how much we've learned, but nothing has changed. Why?
Yeah, I mean, we have our subjective weaknesses, whether it is in terms of the documentation of people, whether it is in terms of the quality assurance of whatever goes out into the public out there. But ultimately, I think we are a law-abiding country, and we appeal to everyone that seeks to do business in South Africa, seeks to do business in Gauteng. They should do it according to the laws of the country.
Yeah, but you say according to the laws of the country, but if you've got the police who are also complicit, I mean, it's broken before you even get going.
Where crime is being committed, the criminal element must be rooted out, and our law enforcement agencies must take care of all of that.
Yes, to build on what he has said, which is the problematic, because most of the time the perpetrators of this violence and these attacks against the foreign nationals, they get arrested and they get to be charged on a public disturbance or public violence, and they are later released. There is no strong message which our police, our nation, and our Department of Justice, including the National Prosecuting Authority, they are not sending the strong message out there to the community to say, whatever you are getting involved, if it will violate someone's rights, you are then going to be dealt with. The issue that we are getting from the justice people is that they find it difficult to criminalize people who are taking non-nationals based on the nationality.
Why?
And because they are saying they use the National Criminal Procedures Act. And now here we are sitting with the hate crime bill and the hate crime and hate speech bill, which has been sitting in Parliament for ages now. It's over 10 years. The bill has just been there and in and out because there is no, in the National Criminal Procedures Act, they can't find a section where they can criminalize. But that's not an excuse. We need to be finding ways in saying, this is the message. If you get involved in a very criminal and a xenophobic attacks, we are going to deal with you very harshly. Then that will send strong message, because these people who are taken and involved in these social ills, they know that at the end of the day, they are going to be released. And when they are released, they are back to the very same communities. And the government will then come and say, we're doing community integration. The other thing, in terms of the solution, when this thing broke out in 2008, us as COMSA, we commissioned the South African Human Rights Commission to do a research and study, to come up with a recommendation. And South African Human Rights Commission came up with a very good recommendation for each and every department: international relations, home affairs, education, health, and so forth. But are those recommendations being implemented? No. That tells you the level of ignorance within our leadership level. And in 2015, when this xenophobia happens in Snake Park and other townships, the parliamentarians, they came down to the ground to conduct a community dialogues. And what did come out of that dialogue? Nothing, except when they went back, they said, no, we are going to make the Refugee Act more stricter and limit some of the rights.
TV as well, doesn't it? Let's bring in Tiger from Benoni. Go ahead, Tiger.
Yes, good evening, Jane.
Good evening.
Nice to have you on board.
Thank you.
Yes, Jane, let me start by commenting on the previous caller. He said, and I quote, enough is enough. That is because trained personnel. For your own information, considering the previous attacks which took place, the judiciary is not sending signals to the members of the community that this must come to a stop. No one went to prison when there was a mayhem previously. No one was indicted and convicted until today's date. So these people are habitually attacking foreign business owners because they know it's a common cause that they weren't going to go anywhere.
Okay, thanks for that, Tiger. So I think we've identified one of the prime problems here. I mean, if Mr. Osman, a community feels that they're never going to be protected, that the police will never be on their side, I should imagine psychologically that has a massive impact. You hear about a lot of people who don't want to set up shop anymore because they know that this might happen to them again.
Yeah, actually, it happened before. In 2015, as you mentioned it, when this violence happened in the same Soweto area, there are quite a number of people who decided actually they don't no longer want to operate in the townships as long as they lost whatever they have been working for quite some time. So it will definitely have a huge impact on the psychological understanding of the people and even living in that particular society. And it will also make difficult for even organizations like Cosman Somali Community Board to do some integrations or to change the minds of those people. So at the end of the day, it's very important that law enforcement agencies have some kind of actually effective and proactive involvement when such incidents happen. Remember, these things have been actually signaling this for quite some time since this message started. And nobody has actually done in some proactive activations in the townships. The good thing that they have done, I think one particular police station that I can actually prize for that is Tembisa, which have actually done quite a number of research in Tembisa townships, shops who are in Tembisa, at least to find what they are saying, or this allegation, is it true or not?
Because you've got to deal with those root causes,
yes. So when even society understand that you are acting on their concern, they understand that they have got somebody who's responsible, who are actually acting on their behalf in terms of actually implementing the laws. And when it comes actually in the implementation of the laws is there, the authorities are there. But it seems it was neglected.
Okay, so the law needs to be put in place. Police need to do their job. I liked what you said about businessmen sharing their success stories. I mean, until that happens, and I know you've got to address the economic disparities, there never will be reconciliation, will there?
No, crime is crime. Murder is murder. It matters not whether it's the murder of a foreign national or a South African national. Our law enforcement agencies deal with crime in the manner that it should be dealt with. But it's not my position to be trying to make a case for the law enforcement. What we are calling for is for our people to know that, especially where the Gauteng provincial government is concerned, the opportunities for township economic revitalization have been set forth. We have interacted with them. They know what it means to be a legit business operator. We make the same appeal to our guests, those visitors that we are hosting in South Africa, who are doing a great job at economic development. They are not immune from the operations of the legal framework for economic participation in South Africa. They should try and stick to all of that. They also on their part. And on our part as government, we'll make sure that we come to the party.
Okay, let's bring in Zamukulu from the Eastern Cape. Go ahead.
Hello?
Hello, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I'm phoning from Humansdorp.
Okay.
Yes, my point is that, ma'am, you see, our government failed us, ne? It failed us, our government. Why I said I'm against the xenophobic, the attack from the foreigners. I'm against that. My problem is this: our government failed us because since 1994, our democracy, the government didn't give us the South Africans the chance to see how they're gonna deal with the democracy, how they are going to go forward with their democracy. He just let the foreigners to come in to do everything they want. You see, why there's a lot of unemployment in South Africa. Our government is shining himself to the other countries, while the people of South Africa are suffering unemployment. Now these people, they came here in numbers, you see, to take the business to the South Africans, that they didn't even try to deal with the democracy. We don't even feel this democracy because the foreigners are all over. You see, I'm against the xenophobic, the attack took up for them. I'm against them for that. You know?
Okay, we get your point there.
Just try to at least to minimize these people. There are too many here.
Okay. Okay, let's get a response to that.
Okay, I mean, we are bound to have such perceptions if it appears on the ground that economically our people who are the face of poverty are encountering the least positive impact with the government. That is why we have taken the kinds of initiatives that we have taken, especially on our part in Gauteng. We have Qondisi Shishinyinako, we have all manner of programs. We have a pitching booster now amongst the small business development. We have engagements with the established private sector to try and make sure that our people are active economically. But it cannot just be government alone that comes to the party. Entrepreneurship is not taught. It can be taught to some extent, but entrepreneurship is in people's DNAs. The actual entrepreneurs should be able to take the bull by its horns without necessarily having to expect government to always come on board. But all of that been taken into account. We are ready to serve our people, but our people must follow the law, must do the things the way they should be.
Okay, we've got another caller from Mpumalanga. Tucker, go ahead.
Yeah, hello. I am actually taken aback by people accusing the government. SADC and AU are to blame here. Why do we have such a huge influx of people from all over the continent to South Africa? They have actually supported our democratic principles in all the countries where these people are coming. They are being oppressed. They don't have anything to do. So they are looking for ways they can live, they can make ends meet. So we are saying SADC must come out with clear principles so that those countries, a good example is Zimbabwe. It was the economic, the breadbasket of Southern Africa, but it was destroyed completely. But the government, the SADC regions, even the AU, they continued to support those people. Now all the people in Zimbabwe, they've left. They're all here. Where do you want to be the South Africans by birth? Where are they going to be? We are now scrambling for very few resources which are there on the table. Okay. And they are not going anywhere. They are here. They will die here. Okay. But all the foreigners who are here, one day they will leave this country. They will go back to their mother countries.
Okay, let me put that to Mr. Osman. Is it the fault of the African Union and SADC that people are here, or, as you said a little earlier on, many people are leaving because of problems within their own countries? Or is it a mix, a bit of both?
I think foreign people to be here are not something decided by an organization. There are international instruments that have been based on how the refugees are actually coming into South Africa. South Africa has already signed the Geneva Convention. They have got their own, actually, Refugee Act, which allows the refugees. We are not talking about those people who came economically and non-economically. That will decide by the actual officials who are dealing with the cases of the refugees case by case. But generally, there are international laws that allow people actually to come here if they want a protection from the challenges that they are facing from their own countries. So that is the reality. So,
and I should imagine the government also has a right to protect them.
Exactly.
Under those international laws.
Absolutely. So AU didn't actually force South Africa to accept Asians are coming. There are other means, actually, not only the refugees. There are quite a number of foreign people who are coming into this country through business interactions, international relations, a lot of other venues that they are using to come in. But why are these actually on only the vulnerable refugees who are trying actually to find a living in the townships? Because remember, these huge other economics in the urban area cannot maybe accommodate to them. So that's why they run away actually to find a living in the informal sectors.
Do you think we'll ever get a handle on this, the fact that it comes up every year? And I know we've touched on the problems. I mean, because surely one of the reasons people come, it's a sign of success, South Africa's success, that it's also attractive. But can we progress?
Yes, Jane, one of the callers did mention that when are we going to draw the line? From where I'm seated, the line can only be drawn if our leadership, which is our political leadership, they can stand up and own up and say, yes, this is xenophobia and it's a hatred of non-nationals by South Africans. And then from there, they can be able to develop an instrument or some sort of engagement that can address that particular element. Then that particular process or policy that they will develop in order to deal with xenophobia will then come with issues of economic and competition and other social cohesion elements. Because I mean, really, if we are going to keep denying, definitely there won't be a solution, because you can't develop a solution on a denial. You need to be on up and come up and say, yes, this is xenophobia. This is a hatred of non-national by South Africans. What can we do? And then from there, you conduct a survey and you seek assistance from other civil society organizations and Chapter 9 institutions. As Consortium for Refugees and Migrants in South Africa, we are there. We are available to assist because we work with migrants on a daily basis. And the skills transfer that they have, the knowledge that we are holding with ourselves and in the communities, it can gradually be converted and be combined, and we can then work together and address these issues.
How important are economic migrants for South Africa? What sort of input do they have towards the economy?
Okay. Maybe just to start with what Fuli is saying, which is a point that obviously government should concede. And in fact, Fulu, Mr. Osman would concede that if there's any province that has done a lot in terms of social cohesion, social integration of foreign nationals into the lifeline of the province, it is the Gauteng province. There's soccer games in which the premier participates. There's so much that happens, but there's a multiplicity of solutions that we should explore. Some of them are external to us. Some of them include the stabilization of other countries on the African continent. I think some of our political leaders have made that point. For example, with respect to the health situation, where just to cite an example, the Shalom Makleke, on any evening, in excess of 60% of the patients that get attended to at emergency would be foreign nationals. So there is a lot that ought to be done by other countries on the African continent in order to help South Africa stem the tide of the economic difficulties that we are encountering. Okay. But having said all of that, on the economic front, we have always welcomed the participation of everyone. Of course, not everyone that comes here is an economic migrant. Others are doing all sorts of things. And we have problems of crime, some of which is being rattled and brought by migrants. But when you deal with all of this, when you deal with an economic question, you must deal with an economic question as an economic question. A crime must be dealt with as a crime. I think that is what is important. That's the point I was making to the colleagues.
Okay, and let's leave it there, Mr. Mampuru.
Thank you.
Suntumule and Osman, thank you. That was great. Thank you.